Imagine being a swimmer who has spent your entire life chasing faster times and then realizing that the hardest part isn't getting faster, it's learning when to stop chasing. What if your biggest breakthrough in swimming had nothing to do with the personal best? Welcome to Swim Stories Unplugged, where we go beyond the times, medals, and results to uncover the stories that make us swimmers. Today, I'm joined by Britta O'Leary, a lifelong competitive swimmer, coach, master swimmer, and someone whose journey has taken her from Germany to the United States, from Olympic level aspirations to collegiate swimming, and through some pretty significant injuries and setbacks. But what makes Britta's story especially powerful is where she is today. After years of competition and being incredibly focused on performance, she's learning to embrace something that sounds simple but can be surprisingly difficult for competitive swimmers: having fun. Because sometimes swimming isn't about being the fastest person in the lane, sometimes it's the comeback, the people you meet, the places swimming takes you, and remembering why you jumped into the water in the first place. So let's dive into Britta's swim story. And if you enjoy Swim Stories Unplugged, please like, share, and comment and follow. And remember to turn on your notifications so you don't miss the next swim story from our amazing community. Hi, Britta. Welcome to Swim
Hi,
Stories Unplugged. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. It's so exciting that we get to do this together.
I agree. I agree. Yes.
So we're gonna start with our the first time you were in the pool.
Oh my goodness. We have to go back a long time. I'm not sure I remember the first time I was in the pool, but I remember how I ended up in a swim club. And that was when I was around 5 years old. My parents tried to teach me how to swim, and I wouldn't listen to them. So they put me into the local swim club, and that was it. Yeah.
So what did you like about when you were swimming when you were younger?
I think I just saw that I enjoyed putting in, or like the work that I put in had an output, right? Um, and I think that's what I saw. So I saw like, okay, I go to practice twice a week and I am getting faster. And I think that's just what motivated me. I did lots of different sports growing up. I did competitive trampoline, for example. That was one of the last sports I quit before I only focused on swimming. And I played volleyball, I played basketball, all these things, but swimming was always kind of like the constant and kind of like where I saw the most improvement over time. However, I did not, I wouldn't say peak, but I did not get um like I didn't have like the acceleration of getting better until after puberty.
Hmm.
And you see that, like, I had a friend, she was very good at younger years. I was always like behind her, so much behind her. I was like, oh my god, I want to catch up. And she kind of dropped off and I kind of started getting better. So yeah, that was kind of like how I stuck with it and how I saw that that's probably my sport.
Yeah. Was there a favorite stroke back then?
Not necessarily. I had a coach growing up, and she was very good at breaststroke,
Hmm.
and she put a lot of emphasis on not necessarily yardage because we didn't have a lot of pool time. So she put quality, especially on the technique side. So we Mondays we only had an hour and we would only swim like maybe 1500, but it was all like very high quality technique work, so that we had growing up just the base of being technically very good in all four strokes. And then you kind of your favorite kind of like developed out of that, right? I was
Hmm.
I was always an IMer. because of
Mm-hmm.
that. The 200 IM was always like a good event for me. And then I was a backstroker for a long time. And then kind of through her being also a very good breaststroke coach, my technique developed into something where I just saw that my breaststroke was developing very well. And in a funny way, I was a 50 backstroker, 200 breaststroker. Like those were my best events, 50
Okay.
backstroke, 200 breaststroke. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't fit at all, but maybe if you know the background now a little bit about the technique work, it makes more
Mm-hmm.
sense. But I'm definitely not a breaststroke sprinter. I can't sprint breaststroke. I can't do a 200 back, but like the 50 back, 200 breast was like the sweet spot, I guess.
Yeah, that's nice. And like, have you always been swimming since you were 5? Like as a club swimmer, high school, college, and all those things?
Yes. So I was always a club swimmer.
Mm-hmm.
The swim club was only like a 10-minute walk from my house growing up. So I swam once a week and then twice a week. And then, as you quit other sports, you add more days in the pool. And so at some point I swam 5 days a week. And growing up in Germany, there is no high school sport. So it's all club based. So I swam on club based through high school, and I actually started university in Germany for 2 years and then transferred into a US college. I transferred into the University of Miami to then swim in college, and that's how I also got to the US.
US. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah,
So it brought you to a different country.
correct. Yeah,
Yeah, across
sports
the globe, I should say.
yeah, sports definitely opened that door for me, and I'm forever grateful. I'm still in the US. I still swim, so it's definitely given me opportunities in life I would have never had without swimming.
That's great to hear. So, tell me a little bit about the difference between how your experience was in Germany in swimming and versus here in the US.
Mhm. Um, just very different setup to begin with. In Germany, like I said, it's all club based. There's no high school sports. There's no college sports. So I was swimming on a very high level. I went to Olympic trials. I missed making the team in 2004. That's also when I graduated high school. So it was kind of like, balancing both at the same time. It was hard, but I was a little burned out because I also kind of stagnated towards the end. I trained 10 times a week in the water, 4 days a week in the weight room, and we did a lot of yardage. We did a lot of, I had a coach who was very much about practice is more important than competition.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very open about this. I don't like practice. I don't like it. I like racing. I know this is the necessarily evil that you have to do in order to race well. But so when I came to the US and started college swimming, and you have a dual meet every weekend, you step up to the block regardless of if you've tapered or you're not, like regardless how tired you are or rested you are. That's really where I saw like, this is the training that resonates with me. This is the training that I do well with, because the fun came back because I was racing a lot more, and it's training too, right? Like every
Yeah.
race is a good practice for whatever your highlight is that season.
Right.
So that's the biggest difference, I would say, between the German system. The German system has definitely changed since I left a little bit more. They've definitely gravitated more towards racing more, but when I was there, it was more like practice is more important than competition. And yeah, wasn't the right thing for me.
Yeah. I'm glad you found what was right for you and it came about.
Yeah.
Um, Now, when did you join Masters? And tell me a little more about your journey as a master swimmer.
Yeah. So after I graduated, I actually stayed at the University of Miami to get my graduate degree. So I kind of tapered off. You know how it is. You can't just stop cold turkey. So I still swam like 2-3 times a week, but I ran more. And I actually injured my ankle running fairly
Ouch.
quickly into this running story, into this new running journey. And you know how it is. You brush it off and you're like, oh, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. No, at some point I couldn't sleep anymore. I was in so much pain. Turned out I had really deteriorated. I had no more cartilage in my ankle, and it was bone-to-bone rubbing. So I had to have surgery in my ankle. And we had also moved to Atlanta kind of like during that same time. Pretty much right after we moved, I had surgery in Atlanta at Emory University. Fantastic surgeons. I was definitely in the best hands. And my surgeon was like, well, Britta, you might not run a marathon anymore, but why don't you stick with swimming? I was like, wasn't really my plan, but I was coaching masters at the time. You know, we moved to a new city and I was looking for a job, and what community you have around the world, it's your swim community. So I was like, well, while I'm job hunting for a grown-up job, I might as well start coaching. So I coached the master's group at Emory University for a few years until my surgeon told me, you know, and I was like, oh, maybe I should do this. And then it was 2011 and USMS Nationals were at Auburn. And everyone was like, Britta, you should try this. Come on, it's right next door. And I was like, how do I qualify? I don't even know. So I did one long course meet with one foot because I was still recovering from surgeries. Recovery takes a long time after ankle surgery. So this was really like a year and a half later, but I still couldn't fully push off with 2 legs yet. I couldn't really jump. I had to change up my dive into a track start dive. Never done that before. But I'm still doing it since then, since I switched it up. But yeah, pretty much USMS Nationals at Auburn really gave me kind of like that push to see if I could do this. And then I swam at Auburn and I was like, oh, I'm actually still pretty fast. And I only swim twice a week, right? And that was kind of like for me the start where I'm like, oh, this was fun. Okay, let's just keep doing this. So I'm not saying I quit cold turkey coaching, but I kind of phased out of coaching and started swimming more again. Yes.
That's like, you know, sounds like you had like you know, a break sort of and a challenge in your journey. And like I really liked how you, like, you know, you kept persisting and like, you know, went through with it. So when you were doing these swims, was there any kind of like success or anything changed in you about patience or any of those kinds of setbacks? I mean, when you faced the setback?
Not at the beginning. And I gotta admit, it's been a work in progress, right? I think only last season, really, and like I'm FINA 42 this year, right? Really, I have really come to know that, or like really internalize that I can't chase the times anymore when I was like in my early and mid 20s. Right. So my husband always said, like, you're the most competitive person I know. And I was like, no, I'm not. But yes, I am. But I think the last year and a half, the last 2 years, I was at a big shoulder injury and I really had to slow down. Kind of showed me that there's more to life and that, you know, swimming can still be fun, even if you don't swim best times all the time or if you don't win all the time. But it's been a learning curve, a big one.
Yeah, of course. And like, you know, once you have that change in there, like you realize like some of the things that you imagined would happen wouldn't happen, and then you shift your mindset. I like that.
Yeah, and like I said, it was definitely a long learning curve. Like I should have, now looking back, I should have shifted my mindset years ago, right? Because, you know, there's life and like I have 2 kids and I have a full-time job. I know I run my own company. So life gets in the way of swimming. And I don't think I ever just found swimming as this is my hobby. Swimming was always like my identity so far. And it still is in some way. Like I'm still Britta the swimmer, right? And I love it. But I think I'm shifting more and more towards Britta can be a swimmer without being, you know, winning all the time. or without setting
Yes.
a new record, or chasing a new record or something like that. And don't get me wrong, that's still fun, and I still love that. I
Mm-hmm.
was talked into a relay to try to set a record, for example, but I think kind of like, oh, I'm gonna chase being an All-American again this year or something like that, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
think that just takes more and more a backseat, and I'm trying to focus more and more on having fun with swimming. And because that's also when I noticed it's more fun, and I still swim pretty well, although yes, might not be as
Yes.
fast as, when I was super hyper focused, but
Yes.
um that's okay.
Yeah. Like it's all about having fun, right?
Yes, and I think I have not always had that on the front of my mind. It was
Mm-hmm.
more about, like I said, being so focused and stuff. But yeah, in the last 2 years, I've learned that fun is the most important thing in master swimming. Absolutely.
Yeah. And like how do you manage your time? Like are you still coaching right now?
Currently not. I drop in, some teams. Atlanta is a big swim community. They call me up and be like, "Hey, do you have time to coach today? We don't have a coach," and then I absolutely fill in. But no, I don't coach on a regular basis right now.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you a dual question here. Like
Okay.
in your role as a coach, how do you apply your role as what you tell your swimmers to do and versus when you're receiving feedback from your coach? How do they either go together, similarities and differences both?
Yeah. Obviously, you learn from every single coach that you work with, regardless if you're standing next to them on deck or if you're in the water and get coached by them, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there's definitely something that, and I've had lots of different coaches throughout the years. There's something that you take away from every coach that you work with. Having said that, I think I have a lot of knowledge that I give to my swimmers when I coach as a
Mm-hmm.
coach. Am I the best at following my own advice as a swimmer? Absolutely not. You know how it is, right?
Yes, yes,
It
of
is it
course.
is easier said than done. And I
I'm
absolutely
sure.
know that. But I think also because I still swim and still compete and have competed on a very high level, I think that expertise and just that experience also helps me coach swimmers and just helps them, first of all, kind of help them see where are they, right? And then what's your goal, where do you want to go, and then help them map out a plan. And that's years of experience being in the sport, and like I said, also being around fantastic coaches, fantastic mentors in the sport that helped me with my own journey. And I love giving back to master swimmers. And I mean, I've coached everything. I taught baby swim classes before, and I taught private lessons, and I taught adult learner swim, and I taught college kids and did technique work and stuff. So I think I've coached on all different levels, and every level has something very special. And since I've gone through all of them, I don't remember the baby swimming, obviously.
Yeah,
But since I've gone through all of them personally, I think I can relate very well.
that's thing makes me think of a question. What was your favorite memory as event when you were younger? And tell me about that.
My favorite event when I was younger was swimming the World Cup final in Berlin.
Mm-hmm.
There were two races that I still remember distinctively. One was the 100 AM, and Martina Muravchova broke the world record in lane 4, and I think I was in one of the outside lanes, and I remember she turned, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's like a length and a half ahead of me. But just being in the same heat with someone like that was just incredible. So that's definitely a memory I still have. The other one is also from the World Cup final, and I got eighth in a 200 breaststroke, or sixth in the 200 breaststroke in that World Cup final. And it was kind of like a year where I was just about borderline making the national team.
Mm-hmm.
Long story short, I ended up not making the national team, but I got out of the water and I was second best German. And the national coach just kind of like looked at me like this. And I was like, yeah, that's me. Yeah. Like, unfortunately, like I said, it didn't work at the end of the day. I mean, I had the cut, but there was a lots of politics involved as usual, in all sports. But
Yes.
it was just nice getting out of the pool and just feel validated that I felt like I was on the right being on the team that year, and they might have made a wrong decision. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are the two events I still remember very distinctively.
That's amazing. I love how to hear that, and I could hear it in your face, even like how eventful, and they how memorable they were. Now we're gonna step back a little bit and ask about the challenges you have faced and how you overcame them.
In my swim story, there's lots of challenges that came up. Going back, this was still Germany. I was so I moved out actually was 16 and moved to the Olympic Training Center to be a resident athlete there. So I was overtrained in my second year. So that was the first challenge. I remember looking at a set of stairs and I just cried because I knew I wasn't going to make it up there without being totally out of breath and incredibly exhausted. So that was definitely a tough one. I remember my parents, they lived 2.5 hours away. My dad actually drove in and picked me up. He's like, "You're coming home. Like, this is not healthy for you."
Right.
I went back, obviously. I did go back, but that was a tough time because, especially as a youth athlete, you rely so much on your coach and so much on what they tell you need to do because you haven't figured it out yet. So that was definitely challenging, but it also taught me a lot, right? It taught me a lot about maybe I need to listen to my body a little bit more. Like I always had the mindset of, well, if I go to school, I can go to practice, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really not the case. Like you can still sit on the chair and listen to teachers teach you something all day, but you probably shouldn't go to practice. So that was the mindset though that I had. It was like, if I can go to school, I can go to practice. That was definitely the first big challenge in my life that I had. The second one was right before the reason I moved to the US and started college swimming, I stagnated and I just didn't see a real future with swimming in Germany. I'd graduated, so I was kind of like postgraduate high school. There's no collegiate swimming, so you kind of try to balance college and swimming, club swimming somehow. And there's definitely enough stories that have handled that successfully, but it wasn't my thing. So I actually told my coach back home that I would quit swimming. I would move back home and go to university there in my hometown. And my plan B was, okay, let's reach out to a few coaches in the United States and see if I can utilize swimming as, something that gives me new opportunities also academically. And luckily that worked out. And it was one of the best decisions of my life. But I always say, like, before I found, this door to collegiate sports and really to the perfect combination for athletics and academics, I went through like the worst time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I really didn't know what to do in my life. Like you got to go for the bad times to really appreciate the good times.
Right, of course. And those valleys, I'd say, teach you to climb mountains, and which you're literally doing right now.
Right,
So,
and I really did that, and yeah, it opened doors in my life. Like I said at the beginning of this, that I would have never jumped off before. So it's been great.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, and tell me about your master's journey. Like how you have been in it for how long right now?
So I joined Masters as a coach in 2010. 2011. Like
Okay.
2011 was Auburn. So I think I joined Masters in 2010,
Yeah.
um, and been involved ever since.
Mm-hmm.
My master's journey obviously has lots of ups and downs too, because that's
Okay.
when, I had 2 kids and you start real life, with jobs and all of that, and life gets in the way. But
Mm-hmm.
it's a beautiful, different story. And I absolutely love the aging up every 5 years, because you can kind of reset and say, okay, new age
Yeah.
group, like, let's not look back, let's only look forward. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, master's journey definitely comes with different challenges. I've had a lot of injuries throughout my master's journey. Like I said, lots of life getting in the way, having kids, raising kids, working. And I talked to a friend the other day, and I just said, master's is like you come back, you're in a constant comeback era, right? Like,
Yeah.
you never have the feeling, or like, that's me personally, I never have the feeling I really like have, oh, I really trained consistently over the last year. No, this doesn't happen. Like,
Yeah.
maybe you can train consistently for a few months, and that's fantastic. But then something gets in the way, right?
Yeah. Of course. There's always something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you are on the community of volunteers on the board and everything. So how has that helped or hindered or both in your swimming?
Um, Definitely hasn't hindered, to be honest. How
Amazing.
has it? Yeah, how has it helped? I think it just gives me a better understanding of master swimming in general, and how we as volunteers can help make this sport better, or how we can help each individual, find their home with USMS. Um, I got involved with volunteer work with our LMC in Georgia very quickly after actually moving to Georgia,
Hmm.
because my role models, my parents, they have always been involved on the volunteer side. They've always been on some kind of board. They've always been, leading something, helping make the sport that they care about better. And that's just something that I grew up with, and that I saw how important that is if you care about a sport, to
Hmm.
not just get involved as an athlete and kind of take, but
Hmm.
also, how can I give back? How can I contribute to making this a better sport? And how can I help the organization grow, advance, develop? And yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I got involved, first all on the LMC level, and then slowly I got involved. I was, for 4 years, I was on the board of directors as an at-large director, been on still am on a bunch of USMS committees. Right now I'm a zone chair. So it kind of, throughout all the levels of USMS, I've been involved. And it's beautiful being involved on all the different levels, because you learn so much, and how it filters down, top down, or bottom up, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. And um, do you have any short-term or long-term goals for yourself in swimming?
That's a good question. Um, I have definitely goals. Are they super realistic right now or not? Is TBD. But my goal is to go to World Championships next year in Budapest.
Hmm.
That's definitely a goal of mine. In past editions of World Championships, I probably would also say, and I want to place top 3. Is this my dream?
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. Is this my dream? Yes. Is this realistic right now with what I'm doing in life and how I can train? I'm unsure, but it's definitely something that, in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, I can't be too competitive, like, because I
yeah.
don't want to be disappointed, because right now I have different priorities in life than just swimming. And but yeah, going to Master World Championships in Budapest is definitely a goal of mine, and something that hopefully I find a few months, a few weeks to consistently train for somehow.
Yes. That's That's so exciting to hear. I'm hearing a lot of swimmers who are aiming for the world masters. So I'm excited to hear that you're one of them too.
You should come too. It is so fun. It is so fun. And the thing is, yes, I want to do well when I go to a world championship, right? But
Yeah.
overall, I already look forward to seeing my teammates from Uruguay. I was just recently 3 months in Uruguay and trained and competed for the local team there. And the next time I'll see them is in Budapest. And like, things like that. I have friends all over the world for master swimming by now. And I call it my swim family.
Yes, of course.
I love my swim family, not just my USMS swim family, which obviously is incredibly special, but also my worldwide swim community and swim family. And so I look forward to going to Worlds and obviously compete, but also to see all of my friends from around the world.
Yes, that would be really special, and I like how you have a goal for that. Do you have an event in mind or events in mind that you want to go for? If you don't mind
Um,
sharing, that is.
yeah, I mean, I do kind of have my go-to events that are my
Mm-hmm.
favorites and I really like. Obviously, always depending on the order of events. And traditionally for Master World Championships, they don't release them for a while. Maybe January. I don't know. This is kind of like my hope for right now.
Yeah.
um, my favorite event is the 200 breaststroke, and I think it's also one of my best ones. So I definitely wanna swim that, regardless of how I can train, unless I'm
Mm-hmm.
somehow injured that prevents me from swimming breaststroke. Another one of my favorite events is the 200 IM. Unfortunately, I had a lot of shoulder injuries over the last year and a half, so I wasn't able to swim that a lot
Mm-hmm.
because I couldn't swim butterfly. So hopefully, crossing my fingers, if I can get through the time period until Worlds without shoulder flare-ups or anything, hopefully the 2 a.m. And if it's not, back to back with the 200 breaststroke, because that also happens a lot. And other than that, we'll see. I love some freestyle sprinting. Love me
Yeah.
some 50-100 freestyle. This is always like maybe like a little bit of a wild card event because I don't really train it, but
Mm-hmm.
I usually end up placing well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we'll see how the order of event goes, and if I want to swim a relay or something like that. But yeah, two breast, 200 IM, hopefully, definitely two breaststroke, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. That's exciting to hear. Like, you being having those mid-distance events sounds like your sweet spot, other than the sprinting that you mentioned for the 50 free.
Yeah, which is funny, like, at the beginning of our talk, I talked about how I was a 50 backstroke or 200 breaststroker growing up, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
still not a breaststroke sprinter. Don't put me in a
Oh,
50 breaststroke. I mean, I place decent, but like 200, if there was a 400 breaststroke, that would be my thing. 400 breaststroke. Yes.
wow.
But
Oh,
but all the other strokes, like freestyle, 50-100 freestyle, that's more my jam than the 200, 400. Backstroke, same thing, 50-100. Don't talk to me about butterfly. I don't do butterfly. I survive
yeah.
it in the IM. But yeah, like the 200 breaststroke 2 a.m. is really kind of like my sweet spot. And then I'm
But
more like the sprinter after that. Yeah.
okay. Yeah. Do you do long distance at all?
No, not really competitively. I mean, here and there I have like my best girls, my swim sisters, they're more like into open water swimming, and they take me and they're like, come on, Britta, let's do a mile, let's do a 5K. And I do it here and there with them for fun, but it's never something I would say I'm good at or I train for. But
Okay.
it's more about the community and the having fun and supporting your friends by doing those events.
Yeah. And from all these, from the conversations, I gather you've been in top 10 in many events
Uh,
in
yeah, I mean,
USMF.
yeah, I mean, here and there you throw in like some random events, but I think I'm a fairly versatile swimmer with backstroke, freestyle, breaststroke, and IM. So
Hmm.
depending on how much I race, there can definitely be a lot of different events where I can hopefully make the top 10. Yeah.
Yeah. That's exciting. And if there, like as a coach, if there's something that you'd say to the swimmers, what advice would you give the swimmers listening to you right now?
Have fun with it. That's, I think, the most important thing. Don't get too hyper focused on something, because racing, or it's swimming in general, especially when you want to race, I always say racing is 20% training and 80% mental. And so don't forget the mental side with what you're doing. Because if you don't have fun swimming, it doesn't matter how much you train or how well you train, you will not be able to then put it in the pool and really do your best.
Hmm. And when you're standing behind the starting block, what goes on through your mind when you're racing?
It depends on the meet, and it depends on the competition and on the event, right? I like to be the one that's like, I don't like to be the one that's being chased.
Hmm.
Although that does happen, obviously. What goes on, I think I'm just gonna be like, oh, you don't think I can do this? Oh, let me show you. I think that's kind of like that, one of the mindsets that helps me the most.
Yeah.
Although I just recently I swam the Your Grand Masters National Championship, which was amazing,
Hmm.
by the way. If you ever have the opportunity to race in a different country, do it.
Yeah.
And I really didn't have a lot of consistent training leading up to it, and I had no expectations. And so right then and there, my thought was just, let's have fun. Let's have fun with
Yeah.
this. And I did surprisingly well, just by being like, all right, let's have fun with this, right? Like, who
Yeah.
cares? Like, how I end up doing here. I don't see them for the next year and a half.
Yeah.
So it kind of depends really on what it is, right? But I think that really, even when I'm like, oh, I'm going to show you what I can do, even with that mindset, I think maybe you can hear it like, it needs to be fun. It can't be like the hyper focus on, oh my God, and I need to do this. Like, that's not going to work for me. No, it
Yeah.
always has. And I'm the person that chit chats behind the blocks too. And I was like, I'm like the
Yeah.
high fiver. And I was like, come on, let's dance before we swim, because otherwise I'm not doing well.
Yeah. Of course. Of course. And like, I'm going to ask you a little bit about your coaches, right? Do you, uh, what's the toughest piece of feedback you have received from your coach?
Swim faster in practice.
Don't we all
um,
get
as I shared before, and this is
Hmm.
true, I don't like practice. And
Yeah.
I think I could definitely do better sometimes if I put more effort into practice, and especially like
Hmm.
swim faster in practice, right? Sometimes I
Hmm.
take the easy way out. But I do, right? And then that's
Yeah.
just me growing up. And so I think that the toughest really advices, and like that's why I also went from coaching myself after college. I did not want anyone telling me what to do anymore, right? I was like, I
Hmm.
want to have
Right.
fun, like I'm gonna write my own workouts. And then at some point I realized I need someone to yell in my face from time to time, and
Yeah.
and be like, swim faster. And it was
You're
funny
right.
because I just mentioned I went to Uruguay, and so everything was in Spanish, and it was like one of my, I don't know, maybe it was the second week of practice. The coach spoke absolutely no English. He's actually probably was so sweet. He actually started learning English while I was there, because he's like, oh my God, I want to communicate with you. And I started learning Spanish. So at the end, we could like communicate a little bit.
Right.
But so I touched the wall in one of the sets, and he sticks his iPhone with Google Translate on in my face, and it said it's 90%. And I was like, I got that. I actually read that on the board. And
Oh.
I was laughing so hard, because like, oh my God, even like he thinks I can't read 90%, like, although it's, Roman
Right.
letters,
Yeah.
like I can read
Yeah.
it. Like, and it was just I was just laughing. I was like, okay, like it doesn't matter where I am in the world, I need to go faster in practice.
Yeah, I need to go faster. I love that. Um,
100%.
yeah.
Yeah.
If your swim bag were searched, what was the strangest thing we'd find?
In my swim bag. Ooh, that's a good question. Because I like right now I'm traveling so much, so I actually unpack my swim bag so much because I have to go for TSA all the time and I on the plane with them. Um,
Hmm.
I think you could definitely find like a old granola bar or an old protein bar somewhere in the bag. That's always somewhere in there. I think that's definitely a thing. And then I always have a lock in my swim bag. And
Hmm.
I started doing that traveling 2 years ago because you never know where you are in the world. And most of the pools in the world, you can bring your own lock. And
Yeah.
in Italy, I bought like this cute lock and it looks like a shirt and it's bright
Oh,
orange. And yeah, so that is like my random thing, I think, in my swim bag that you can find. There's always like this random, like bright orange t-shirt looking lock in
looking.
there.
Yeah. Love that. Now I'm going to ask you a couple of like one word challenge questions, right? So I'm going to say one thing and you have to say what comes to mind and we'll like go through 4 or 5 of them.
Okay, the hot seat. Okay.
Yeah. Butterfly,
Terrible.
coach,
Sorry, coach. Did you say?
coach. Yes.
Coach. Non-existent right now. Trained by myself.
Recovery,
Something I don't ever do enough of.
courage,
A lot. You need a lot to be able to conquer master swimming. Yes.
long course,
Love it. Best thing.
finish,
Oh, hallelujah. We're done. Right. It's always good.
community.
So important. One of the most important things.
Yes, I love that. I think those were the few I had in mind. So,
I love it. I love it.
yes. And well, thank you so much, Britta, for being on the podcast and taking the time to do this with me today.
Thank you so much for
The-
having me. It was so much fun. Thank you.
Maybe the goal isn't always to become a better swimmer. Maybe sometimes it's to become a happier one. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons we can take away from Britta's story. Her journey reminds us that our relationship with swimming can change. We can be competitive without letting the clock define us. We can have setbacks without letting them end our story. And we can step away from the pressure and still find our way back to the water. Because swimming is so much more than a time on a scoreboard. It's resilience, it's friendship, it's community, it's the places it takes us, and the people we meet along the way. Britta, thank you for sharing your story with us and reminding us that sometimes the best races are the ones we learn to enjoy again. And to everyone watching or listening, if something from Britta's story resonated with you, like this episode, share it with another swimmer, and leave a comment telling us what keeps you coming back to the water. And don't forget to follow Swim Stories Unplugged on Instagram, YouTube, or Spotify. And remember to turn on your notifications so you never miss a new episode. Until next time, keep swimming, keep having fun, and keep writing your own swim story.